All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the KYCAPM show. You hear the theme song, you know what that means. It's time to hide. It's time to turn it up a little bit louder because it's the Mulligan Group for June 2025 here on KYCA. Jason Zenzaletta forced to be here for this yet again on this particular month because there is once again absolutely nothing to talk about, and why are we here? So, don't look at me like that.
Sorry.
And you people can see it out on Facebook. As a matter of fact, I'm going to check it out right now because why? I just want to make sure, that we're doing this right.
Yeah, Andrew.
So let me see if we can get to it here. Oh, it is live.
On our Facebook site?
There we are. Wow. Look at that. There we are.
International.
Wow.
Yes, international. Well, that's a little scary. That is really scary. Okay, 928-541-1016. Don't know why you'd want to call, and you probably shouldn't. We're missing one today. That would be Tom Riley. He is on assignment today for the show, doing research gathering. I am certain of that. Over to my left, of course, is the effervescent.
Effervescent.
I know.
Whoa, boy.
What can I say? Really. Bob Recker is here over to my left. Yes, hello, Bob.
Is that like
Jason.
Alka-Seltzer?
Yeah, probably.
Alka-Seltzer?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Effervescent.
There you go. And what's going on for the Bob Show
All
next
right. Well,
week?
before I get to the Bob Show, which is going to be very good this week from today. If you haven't heard, and if you haven't been over to Lamerson's Jewelry lately, I think he's starting to wear tinfoil hats these days because he's got some artwork over there that he says probably came from outer space.
No.
Really?
Yes.
So he brought it up from Mexico, and he'll tell you all about it. So you should stop in there. I think he's running some ads about it here on KYCA.
I think he is.
And I'm starting to worry about him a little bit.
He recommended that book to me, some of the things that they're digging on family property down there, and there's a book about it, and he told me about that a year or more ago.
And
Wasn't
who knows?
that written by Rod Sterling?
No.
No, yeah. I told him he should get some music in there. And on the Bob Show next week,
You're gonna have
we have Walt Miller coming in from Yap by Silent Witness. And the reason he's coming in, the big reason he's coming in, we've had the privilege. I'm going to try to hold this up. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. Maybe you can hold it closer.
Why would I?
We have
I got it.
The privilege of having a raffle with Bill Nebaker's two pieces that are on there. One of them is called I want to get it right. Let me look at the thing here. Okay, yeah. One of them is called Campfire Serenade, and the other one's called Fallen Officer Memorial, and it's the boots from the thing that's on the plaza. Downtown. And these are going to be collectors. Miniature boots. Here's some tickets. This is what the tickets look like, and people will be selling them, and I'll be talking more about this on the Bob Show next week. But they're $20 each, or 6 for $100. And I think it's going to be a real opportunity to grab a Bill Nebaker thing for
limited edition Bill Nebaker bronze miniatures.
Yep, and they're limited edition. They're numbered, and the value on the Campfire Serenade is $2,000, and the boots are $1,400. So there's a real opportunity to get a Bill Nebaker piece here through Yep by Silent Witness. And again, we'll be talking about it more on the Bob Show 1 week from today, same time, same place.
There you go. In a convoluted way, it's a giveaway. So there.
And now we're ready for our first break.
All right. There's
Sorry,
our
thank
first
you,
break.
thank
Sorry,
you.
kids. It's all over. Bye, everyone. Bye, bonds. Okay. Across, of course, catty-cornered from Bob Recker is the indomitable Malcolm Barrett Jr.
Uh-oh.
Malicious Mal.
Effervescent and indomitable.
We can't wait to hear what you say.
I'm still grinning from the weekend. I just can't suppress my joy.
Why would that be, Mr. Malcolm?
Just something to do with Tehran and nuclear stuff and things falling from the sky.
And airplanes and long pilot flights. And
only a president like Donald Trump would have the backbone to do it the way he did it. And be proud of it.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that here coming up because, of course, there is a ceasefire in place, as we've heard.
And he had a comment about breaking the
I knew you were
steez.
going to bring that up.
And it was, they don't know what they're doing.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Paraphrasing.
And we're
Yeah.
just going to keep it at the paraphrase
Okay.
right now. So, yes, if you've heard the four-letter word heard around the world, I think, today. And that's,
One of the 7 deadlies.
far and away.
Part of the reason why he's president.
Probably number 1.
Okay. And
didn't stop Jasmine Crockett.
true.
True. Yes.
Again, the show is over. Good night, everybody. Once again. And finally, let's see. Effervescent, indomitable. Hang on just a second.
The articulate one, is that what your nickname was? The thinker? What was it?
I don't know.
I was the doughboy.
Yes. I don't know, but I do know that you are the dean of the coffee group, and that would be Mr. Phil King over here at the corner of the table.
Thank you.
I was going to use indomitable on you, but
Irrepressible?
there we go. We'll go with that. Very good. Very good.
Irrepressible.
Irrepressible.
I accept.
Okay, you're quite welcome, I'm sure. All right, that brings us, of course, to the ceasefire and the truce. And this is something that has been on the move almost by the hour at this point. Things seem to have settled down just a little bit. Doesn't seem like anybody's violated the ceasefire so far today, at least in the last 12 hours or so, something like that.
Since the clock started.
Yeah, since the clock started. Yeah. There was the attack by Iran. There was the response by Israel, which Donald Trump called and said, stop.
In all fairness, it was before the beginning of the truce, so they just had to execute their plans. They already had in place.
It reminds me of the stories of the last day of World War I, when both sides fired off every artillery round they had because somebody wanted to be the last shot fired.
Right. Yep.
Wonderful.
And there probably was several thousand of those
at
the very, very last moment.
Oh, they fired off everything they had in the last 10 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever.
In this case, it was a round-the-world trip practically, a 35-hour bomber ride. And let me guess, Malcolm, last time you had a long flight like that, you didn't have a microwave or a cot or a refrigerator.
I think I had a bit more room. I've been in the cockpit of a B-2.
Yeah. Oh, have you really?
I have. I went on a private tour of Whiteman Air Force Base about, I guess it's been close to 20 years now, and not only did they take us in the cockpit, and it's pretty cramped in there, I didn't even imagine they had a place to lie down, because you've got the 2 seats shoulder to shoulder, you've got a toilet facility with a curtain and a little microwave. I don't know where they lay down, but it was amazing. And we also had the privilege of flying the full motion simulator.
Ooh.
It was incredible.
Awesome,
once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so you look at what these people have done. Are people up there who finally have some pride, I think, once again in doing what they do. Pilots do, period. Of course.
But these warriors, they only get this opportunity once every 2 careers, maybe 3 careers.
Right.
They can run a whole 20-year career and never have a combat mission.
Yeah.
Charlie Wendorf, who we all knew,
The colonel
flew B-52 missions of the same length.
Right.
Yep.
And carrying nastier stuff than these were carrying.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
He even dropped them on Spain.
something like that.
Yeah, there's a long story in a book there.
That is a book.
What was the name of the guy on Guadalcanal, the pilot at Guadalcanal, who flew a couple hundred feet above the ocean to intercept an airplane that the guy who set up Pearl Harbor was
Yamamoto's.
on? Yeah, Yamamoto, and got him, found him.
Yeah, they had a.
Oh,
No, that was an entire squadron of P-38 Lightnings.
Yes, it was.
But there was a guy leading it, and it was
yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Well, I'll tell you, from some of the great missions of our Air Force over the last 100 years, this was amazing. This was incredible.
And you know what? Whether you like Donald Trump or not doesn't matter.
Right.
We are witnessing the changing of the President of the United States position forever. Yeah. There's not going to be anybody that's going to be able to sit back like we've watched people do over and over again.
The buck stops here.
And he's doing it, and Harry Truman was, and then it got, I'm telling you, it's changed forever.
I wouldn't say that.
No,
I
It-
wouldn't say that. All it takes is another Joe Biden.
Forever, forever is
Another
subject to an
sleeper.
election every 4 years.
President-
I don't think
President
we'll accept another
Buttigieg.
Joe Biden.
Oh,
Yes.
oh yeah.
How about that, President?
They will.
Buttigieg.
I go
Don't
back.
say that
I go
out
back
loud.
to the old Jimmy
Does
Stewart
that mean a butt
movie,
stops here?
Strategic Air Command, where he's flying on the B-36, and then he gets the B-47s, and they do the refueling nonstop trip to Japan and all
Jimmy
of this
Stewart.
stuff. And there's a line in that song that says, "Around the world isn't too far." And we did that with the B-52s and the B-1s bombing Afghanistan. They would take off from here, go there, drop their loads, and continue westward or continue eastward, and just make it a round trip.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, in the annals of diplomacy and military action, if this happens, if the ceasefire holds, if we have a peace, and if the United States is not hit in some way, shape, or form by some fanatic who is inspired by this down the road, this will be by far the masterstroke of a presidency. And I have heard already there are nominations for President Trump to get the Nobel Peace
Oh,
Prize.
yeah, but
that's
don't-
not going to go anywhere.
It's not going to happen.
they gave it to Yasser Arafat.
They gave it to
they'll
Barack
never,
Obama.
They'll
Yeah.
never give it to Donald Trump.
Well, they'll probably give it to Vladimir Putin eventually.
yeah, that's,
Of course.
that's
Well,
a
you know,
distinct possibility. He
Harry-
has offered to mediate.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes, he's not busy.
Yeah.
Nothing's going on.
Harry
Yeah.
Truman
And that's-
dropping the bomb probably
How many millions of lives they estimated that
saved
saved?
that.
How horrible, what a horrible situation it would have been for Operation Olympic to go
Yes.
forward.
oh,
The landing of the main islands, the
Yeah,
home islands.
Olympic and Cornet and downfall in general.
It
would
would
have
have
been
been
horrible.
a slaughter.
Well, I'll
And-
leave you with a story.
and gone for years. But
One of the premier historians of downfall was General Schwarzkopf, who I heard speak about this, and he said you have to consider the fact that just as the atomic bombs were dropping, the Pentagon received the order of 500,000 Purple Hearts that they had placed in anticipation of the invasion,
yeah,
and those were used all the way up until about 10 years ago when they
Right.
made a new run.
Just their
I did
supply.
not hear that.
Yep.
That's an amazing
Yeah.
story. That's
They were
interesting.
still using them all the way through the Gulf War and through
Wow.
Afghanistan until they had a new order. And that was 70 years, I
Yeah.
believe, they were using them.
And
70-year supply.
Anyway, let's go on to a break and let's talk a little bit more about what's happening. 928-541-1016. It's a somber day, it really is, but you know what? It's a positive day.
the
It
nice thing is we're holding our breath and nothing is happening.
Well, I'll get back
So
to
far.
that after we get back to this. And welcome back to the KYCA PM show. Jocularity all around, and I think I'm going to take a tape of the time that we have when we're on break and talking. I'm going to label it blackmail and put it away for a year or two. Anyway, we've got a caller. What do you say? Everybody get your ears on, and let's have our caller come in. Somebody is actually brave enough to give us a call, and that would be Tom. Tom, how are you today?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Two things. Number one, all the far left people were crying and screaming about the fact that President Trump might start World War III. Not only did he not start World War III, he prevented World War III, in my opinion. And number two, AOC, who called for his impeachment while our fighters were in the air, in my world, she should be arrested for treason.
Okay.
I could not agree
I
more.
could add some other names to that list.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion, as wrong as it might be.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Bravo,
It's not my
bravo.
fault. It's not my fault if you're wrong.
That's right.
Can hear these guys.
Tom, you're not wrong. I agree
Wait,
with you.
we're not talking about the city election yet, are we?
Oh,
No,
okay.
no,
Oh.
we're not there yet. Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say that, we all have an opinion, but, you don't call for the impeachment of the commander-in-chief during a military operation in my world.
Well, no, and I agree with that, guys.
Well, there's
Thoughts?
Totally agree.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I don't
mean,
know.
obviously you don't, but
they already voted on it, and 100 of the Democrats voted with the Republicans to kill the
Yeah,
bill.
it's
So they realized from their idiocy the last
How
time,
silly it is.
and it didn't do them any good, did it?
no, exactly. I think
Okay.
that speech was another watermark in the watershed moment in the Trump administration.
Yes.
All right, Tom,
right.
thank you for your
Keep up
opinion.
the good work, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
We're trying. I mean, you know how hard it is for me with these guys around. Okay. Thanks, Tom. All right. You were saying earlier, Phil, that, we hope that nothing happens,
Yeah.
of course. How long did we wait for the other shoe to drop after 9/11? And, that was some time. Yes, the intelligence agencies thwarted many potential attacks.
Yes.
Many. And I have no doubt that's going to happen here, too.
I've after 9/11, if you want to talk about that, I've long felt that Bush missed the boat. He should have gone down to Congress and had war declared and gone to
But
war.
war against who? You've got to declare against an entity,
No,
a
you
government.
no, you don't. You can declare war against any of these international
Can
groups.
you declare war on stupidity? And
they-
then what's your strategy?
In 1815, Britain and Prussia declared war on Napoleon, not on France.
Oh.
There is a precedent.
Okay.
Could have done it. Okay. Anyway, I mean,
Now
de-
stop.
declare war, million-man army, sell the war bonds, and take this stuff down, and we wouldn't have had these nation-building efforts that went wrong in Afghanistan and Iraq. Both of those wars were over in a matter of days. Iran, once we grabbed Saddam, should have turned him over to the government and just said, bye, we're done.
Okay.
Basically
yes.
what we did.
Basically what
No,
we did. And
we
then,
didn't. We stayed and tried to rebuild everything and create
Right.
a
But
Western
they turn
nation.
them over we turn them over
Equality
the government immediately.
Oh, yeah,
Equality
yeah.
for women was a big.
I know.
Yeah,
And
we can't
You're not
impose
going.
our culture
You're
on
not going
anyone.
to
No,
change
that's
a
it.
1,500 years of culture.
No, you're not.
And try to make a Western nation out of places like Iraq and Afghanistan. It's not going to happen. Neither is it going to happen in Iran. Which
Hearts
is
and minds and nation building has never worked.
Yeah,
No,
but
and-
before the mullahs came in, Iran was some semi-Western.
Yes, it was.
It was also a despot with
Eh.
ruled with an iron fist
Well, it
with,
was-
with the state
The
police.
Shah's,
did.
the Shah's the Shah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But they're not, there won't be any restoration of a monarchy now. The son, Reza Pahlavi, who's here in exile in the U.S., has said that he would be happy to go back and help them set up a democratic monarchy. That's not going to happen,
Right.
but at least it's a proposal in the right direction.
I got a quick
Let's
story. It's
go there.
semi related. I'm at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, staying in Phantom Ranch for a couple of days.
I got to write this down.
Is there water down there?
There's water. It's called. Anyway, there's a lady speaking to us the first night we're down there, talking about things that happened at Phantom Ranch in the past and everything. I raised my hand and I said, "Who's the most interesting person you've ever talked to here at Phantom Ranch?" You know what she said?
Shah of Iran.
The Shah of Iran.
Man.
That was
came
before
out
his
of her
water skiing trip.
It came out of her just like. And I thought to myself, really? You know, I'm thinking Sylvester. I'm thinking some movie star or something right now. The Shah of Iran is what she said. Interesting, huh?
Amazing.
Well, I'll bet he was.
I bet he was. Well, here's a thought, and I'd like some thought about this because it occurred to me a couple days ago, and I just can't get it out of my head. How much trouble have we gone to in the last couple of months? How protracted and unnecessary was this war between Israel and Iran in the long run if we still had Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan?
It never would have started.
Exactly.
Yeah. True.
We gave away our most critical asset in the Middle East with Bagram.
Agree.
And all the weaponry that ended up in the hands of the bad guys.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, thankfully, they don't have the technology, the smarts to keep most of it running.
Yeah.
Correct. But still, you can display it as long as you can get it started.
Right.
You know, I think a bigger mistake with Biden made was the southern border of this country.
Oh, well.
We got 20 million people in this country. We don't know who they are.
ICE and the marshals arrested a number of the Iranians today.
Right. Yep.
And I talked about a raid that happened in Florida. U.S. Marshals and that broke a child trafficking ring, rescued 60 kids ages 9 to 17 from this group.
You won't see that in the headlines.
In that group were the organizers that were running this ring were 36 illegal aliens, 26 of whom were totally unknown to the U.S. hadn't come through. They had no record of their
they were
name
just regular
or anything
illegal
else.
No
They
effort
just-
to assimilate.
Nothing. They came through unknown and
Drives
were
me
running this. So if there were 36 and 26 of them were unknown, how many of the 12 million, 20 million
12, yeah.
are? How many people are here unknown?
We
to
don't
us?
even know the number of what they call the gotaways.
No,
A
yes,
similar.
we don't.
Is it a similar
Holman
percentage
thinks
to
it's
that?
at least 22 million. At
Yeah.
least 2 million.
Yeah.
We have no idea who they are.
And anyway, they broke 2 rings down in Florida over the last month.
Well, at this point, we know between the deportations and the self-deportations, we're well over 1 million
Yeah.
at this point.
Yes.
We got a long
And
way
the
to go.
Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that the deportations to third parties can continue unabated,
Yeah.
no appeals, all of that. Just pick them up and off they go.
Well, how about
And of course,
Alligator
that was
Island?
a
Yes.
yeah, I like that one.
In Florida? That
Yeah.
was
Oh
a good
yeah,
one.
this
there
is an
w-
airport that was planned to be a reliever for southern Florida, Miami.
Yeah.
Connected to Miami with high-speed rail. Started construction in 1968.
Yeah.
6 times the size of JFK.
Yeah. Wow.
They finished one runway and a tarmac by 1970 and decided, oop, this is too expensive.
You know,
It's been sitting there ever since.
You know, another quick thing
All
about
right.
Donald Trump before the break.
no,
he even took a good mugshot.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our break, and we'll be back after
Had to
this.
get that in there.
Well, there's the theme to the second half of the panel of all knowledge. That is the theme from the Three Stooges, and that means that we are halfway through the show. Congratulations, folks, if you're still awake. Bob Recker, Malcolm Barrett Jr., Phil King, and yours truly, Jason Zunzaletta, sitting here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. By the way, very quickly, just to let you know, there have been a couple of fires sparked around Yavapai County. Please be fire-wise. There was a vegetation fire out in Prescott Valley this afternoon. That got put out, I think, about half an acre from what I understand.
Yeah.
The fire, the mine fire is still going on over in Baghdad. And the latest that we have from Watch Duty is telling us that at this point, I should have brought this up before. I'm sorry, but
it's just Scrub Oak, and
it's just Scrub Oak. It's about 3 miles out of town. It's at 31 acres right now, but forward progress has been stopped. So
I wonder if they fly. I haven't seen a bomber going out, but I don't know whether they hit it out of Mesa or not.
As I understand, it's just ground forces because they knew they even pulled the firefighters off the line last night,
right?
And so they knew they had a good containment at least to some extent.
Good.
So far so good, and I don't want to jinx anything. We've just had a few fires here and there, and right now, apparently just getting started north of Flagstaff is the Sunset Fire. That's out on 89 north of Flagstaff.
There's been one burning on the Utah side of Navajo Mountain now for a week or so.
Let me take a look here. Oh, yeah, I can see that one. That is the Bridge Creek Fire at 2,200 acres. So, yeah, the West is burning. We know this. It happens every year. So far, so good for most of Arizona, and let's just hope it stays that way.
Right.
We just know from Walker to Prescott to Central Yavapai to everywhere else, we've got some great people.
We keeping our fingers crossed until we make it into July.
Yeah. Okay, very quickly, a caller from off-air. Thank you for calling, off-air caller. Now we can relax after 30 to 40 years of drawing red lines in the sand.
Because we've been back to the sea.
That's a good one.
Do you realize there wasn't even really a red line?
Yeah.
I'll get to you in about 2 weeks. Nope. Bam.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Well, they gave him 60 days before that.
We
so
had mentioned earlier before we came on about that one cartoon, that one political cartoon, editorial cartoon today with the picture of Biden and the picture of Trump, and the one saying don't and the other saying won't.
Right. Brilliant. Absolutely
it
brilliant.
Really is. It's won't. And there's a big difference.
Well, the old axiom is, to be an effective world player, your allies must trust you, and your enemies must respect you.
Absolutely.
That you will do what you say you're going to do.
Yep.
Teddy Roosevelt noted that the big stick, speak softly. Trump doesn't exactly speak softly, but he's got a big stick. But Roosevelt said the world will never love Americans because we're too brash and too such,
satisfied. We have such a spoiled life.
And he said, but he did say they should always respect us.
Correct.
And we threw that away over the last 20 years or so.
And I just want to connect it to what's going on now. If you're running for mayor, or you're running for council in the city of Prescott, Arizona, I would suggest that you take a look at what's happening on the federal level, at the President of the United States level, and see what happens when action is taken instead of just talking about it.
Yeah.
And if you're if you're gonna
another study,
the issue of water has to be addressed, and anybody who takes the action step and actually does something to assure for all the local businesses and everybody else that lives in these communities that we can assure their current 100-year water supply, you'll be a hero.
Well,
and
we have
you
done
need
that.
to do it.
Which is why a certain council bought a certain water ranch, fee simple owned.
In the year 2004, at the end of 2004, we know there's an issue. We've got all the places, everything's in line to take care of it. Now all we have to do is import the water, and we need to get it done. We have the legal right to do it, and who trusts anybody to not? We need to move on this, and we need to do it now.
And all we have to do is feed the water farm in Chino Valley.
That's right.
Because the line from Chino to here is already there. The pipe, thanks to the James family and Deep Well Ranchers.
3,200 acres that was retired of usage, that was retired at the water ranch is available for the city. and all it's got to do is run a pipe to the Chino facility, call it recharge, call it our use, and be done with
We
it.
are using less water per capita, even with the grossly grown population.
Grossly
we're
grown.
using, not grossly, it's overall.
Yeah.
0.7%
But-
last
but
year.
We are using less water per capita today than we did in 1950.
It's
Okay,
true.
that's
And
all.
look at that and
Arizona-
think,
That's all like
how
okay.
do we do that?
Well, that's all okay because we don't have agriculture anymore.
That's
It's
it.
all
That's
okay.
that's how.
But we're in an AMA, and there's 14,000
Yeah.
wells that are also in the AMA.
Correct.
Town of Prescott Valley is in the AMA, and we have to do something now because it's not just
Well-
us that's using the water in this active management
No,
area. It's a lot of other people that we don't have control
And
over.
we wouldn't
and
we
are,
wouldn't be sitting here and talking about it today if the other communities, frankly, had done what
Well,
Prescott has done over the last 40 years.
Well, we can't fix it now. We have to import water.
Yeah.
We're mining water. There's no way to correct it other
It's
than to
paper
import
mining.
water.
It's not
Well-
physical mining.
It's-
Just like it's a paper supply, not a physical supply.
Anyway,
I
got to
know.
get it done, folks. If you're running for office, please take
Just
care of the
run-
problem.
Use the water wrench, run the pipe
That-
to Chino Valley, and the problem
Thank
is
you.
solved forever.
Thank you very much. Exactly right, Phil.
And all of this panic mongering about
Right, exactly.
running
It-
out,
it-
it's not the case. And whoever it was that said Prescott Valley owns half of it, that's not correct. Prescott owns it solely and has the only import right. It's ours to determine.
Prescott Valley only owns their portion of the distribution line.
If it's extended
Extended
to
to
Prescott,
Prescott
Valley.
Valley.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, we're going to have to take a quick break. Thank you for your patience in there, Scotty. I know we're trying to get everybody going here. All right, everybody, 928-541-1016. Back after this. All right, we're back here on the KYCA PM show. You really got to. We've got to sell bleacher seats or something to this. This is just scary stuff. Well, the city apparently is going to. I don't know if they have passed the language for the general plan today. That was on the agenda.
I don't know. It's on them for a vote.
Yeah, it's up for a vote today to see. And if they voted in, it goes on the ballot in November.
It's 3 times the size it needs to be and full of extraneous stuff and a couple of other problems.
It's all about feel good. It's a land planning document, period.
We'll get close to the microphone, and otherwise.
Land use document. It's not warm and fuzzies and unicorns, which they've turned it into.
Yep.
Well, it's I don't know, but I tell you that's coming up, of course, and we're hearing about all sorts of different things. I mean, it just happens.
Yeah, and they were going to, I think, vote on the proposition for the ballot language also. Maybe they, or maybe they already did.
No, I think that was already done.
Okay.
Oh no, there is a utility election that's coming up in November.
Right.
That's on the.
That's
the
fine. That has to be done from time
that's
to
a
time.
no-brainer.
Let's just
Right.
continue the easement. But the open space ballot initiative is really dangerous. They need to publish the map of the open space that the city owns and let the voters see that and realize what they're actually talking
to the
about.
continued rise in the cost of housing in Prescott
Yeah.
and workforce housing when we keep taking open land
Off the market.
off the market,
Sure.
Yeah.
making available land
Sure.
more precious, more expensive.
And raising everybody's property taxes because you're taking property off the rolls.
And it's interesting to me that all these folks solicit the people on the city council to buy the land,
Yeah.
but when they actually do that, then they don't trust them to deal with the property. They want to put it in the charter,
Right.
which is now we're going to decide on, and it's a giant mistake to
And-
do
You
that.
never
And
touch
the
it
way
for
it's
any
the
reason.
way it's written,
Yeah.
are you even able to go in and clear the property and maintain it in a fire-wise condition without a vote of the people? Because you can't do anything to
ask
it.
our fire chief about what happens when that occurs.
Yeah.
Noxious weeds, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, you know where he came from. He came from that community in Colorado, south of Denver, that was just decimated by a grass fire.
Right. And so that's coming. Okay, we had a caller, off-air caller number 2. Thank you very much. Have we totally lost the $15.3 million for the rodeo fairgrounds?
Yes.
Yes.
They're going to throw it out for bid again, and every community is going to have another
Well,
run at it.
most of the other districts got theirs because they didn't get sued by the left, like we did over the allocation.
But the way I read it, I understand there was a mistake made, a legal mistake that
That's
disallowed it.
That's what the courts ruled, that
Right.
it was a gift
Right.
because it was given to a nonprofit organization,
Correct.
not given to the city of Prescott,
Right.
who's the landowner. Had they given it to the city
So
of
Mayor
Prescott,
Good
they
and
could
all
have
the
used.
supporters out there should be very proud.
Well, what they
of costing these taxpayers $15.3 million.
what they need to do is go back to Quan and Selena Bliss and say, "Oops, let's fix it. Give it to the city." If
Is it
if the legislature hasn't taken that option away from them.
Is it in their power to even be able to do that? That's the
Well,
problem.
yeah, it was to everybody else originally, and originally we got the allocation for this district.
Well,
and it
has the
was
money
given-
been allocated to somebody else by now?
No.
It's gone?
No.
it's sitting there.
It's still sitting
Yeah,
there.
but
So
Okay, well,
if
that's
I
good.
don't know that it's subject to reallocation is
Correct.
the issue.
And that could be a decision of the legislature. This is an
and it might be in
Say
the
they do
it might be in
allocate it
the,
to the city.
it might be in the budget proposal that dear Katie's going to veto, as she's already said it's dead on arrival.
hey, if you give it to this city without restriction, it's going to go to some wackadoodle.
Yeah.
We got $15.3 million to
We
take
can
more
buy
property off the tax rolls.
Yeah.
You know, that's another small thing that came up that just drove me crazy, and that is I think that they should redo paying the city council and the mayor to a flat rate like it was before.
No
because
COLA.
now they've got this COLA thing, and it's not just the COLA; it's some other thing.
It's in the charter.
Yeah,
And I know we
the-
need to get it
the
back.
voters-
out. We
the
need to
voters-
take care of
Voters
these
approved
things.
it.
The voters felt good
we've lost
about
control.
giving them a raise. What they didn't understand is that COLA was written in there, and the voters, by passing that ballot change or that ballot initiative, that charter change, gave up their right
Yeah,
to set the stipend.
yeah, lost control of it.
It becomes a salary
Right.
increasing annually.
Yeah.
And have they earned a raise?
Well, back on our council days, we were lucky if the stipend actually covered our expenses.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Don't ask.
And frankly,
Yes.
frankly, in a town like this, in one this size that's historically been that way, council service is a community service. It's not a political leap forward, you know.
Okay.
Totally agree.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We've got to take our final break here on the Mulligan Group, the panel of all knowledge. And think about predictions, gentlemen, because after the last 4 or 5 volatile days, who knows?
Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed that? All right. We're going to take our last break. Back after this. And we're back to the KYCA PM show, the panel of all knowledge, the Mulligan Group. Bob Recker, Malcolm Barrett Jr., Phil King, and myself sitting here pondering the ponderables of the world and wondering just how badly we're off on our predictions. Who could have predicted the last few days and the 12 days war, for that matter? A month ago, would this have even been on our radar at all?
Don't think so.
Yes, I think we were thinking about it a month ago.
We were
just
thinking
didn't
about it.
know.
Well, the conversation was who is Iran in a position that it needs to be struck, and there were pros and cons to that argument. So it was a discussion.
Was Iran a paper tiger like this all these years that we could have dealt with this?
Yeah.
I think so.
We just waited too long and let them develop the fissionable material.
Well, we helped them finance it with a couple of previous administrations.
They need 90% pure uranium for weapons grade, and they're at 60% now.
Yeah.
But they're working their way up. The question is, do they have more centrifuges to bring it up to weapons grade? We don't know.
Apparently not now.
Apparently, hopefully not now.
I think they tried to cover all their bases.
They tried to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a few minutes left at least, and goodness,
where do we go from
where do
here?
we go from here?
What does China and Russia pretty much sat it out? China did a little bit.
I don't think China had a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, 20% of their oil.
And Putin's a little busy, and trying to work out some deal
and
there.
We haven't heard from Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, that was the danger. And Medvedev brought it up the other day there are countries who might want to just give Iran a warhead, and that would be one of them.
North Korea wouldn't surprise me a bit, obviously.
I think the ceasefire is going to stick. I really think it's going to work this time, and I think there are going to be some dates set. Let's do this by this date. Let's do this by this date. Let's continue to show progress, and it might just work.
Okay, here's the question. Here's the question of the hour. Okay, I just came up with this, so bear with me here. What are the chances of any sort of attempted major attack in the United States or against, a terrorist attack, as long as Donald Trump's in office?
Crazies are crazies.
No, from inside the country.
Well, they just had the suicide bomber in Syria.
Yeah, how many sleeper cells exist in the country? They know of them.
Yeah.
They know of some of them. They know where some of them are. They picked up a group of Iranians earlier today. ICE and the Marshals did.
It doesn't have to be Iranians.
No, it doesn't.
All it has to do is Muslim sympathizers.
Yeah, it could be anybody. And,
True.
And of course, there's always the so-called lone wolf thing.
Right.
There's a lot of that.
So I think we'll see some of that. That's why so many of the big cities are actually on alert with federal authorities.
There was a vice mayor in California today that's told online told the gangs in her community to get together and start fighting ICE.
Yeah,
she's the vice mayor of her community.
You assume took an oath of some sort.
You'd think.
You would think.
Well, we've got somebody running for city council who spoke at the No Kings rally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
one of the candidates.
Yeah. And so we have
Jay Ruby.
It's okay. And so
yes, that's who it was, Malcolm. Thank you.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Well, and again, you have your opportunity to say what you wish on the public square.
Yeah,
yes,
true enough.
Absolutely.
I did. No Kings Nationwide is planning big events for the 4th of July.
Correct.
And I asked him on the Monday show that I hope somebody who can talk to them was listening to, not to interrupt Prescott's 4th of July with anti-Trump parade downtown. It hurts the tourism industry. It gives the town a bad reputation
I think
around the country.
I think the rules were kind of set down when Sheriff Rhodes said, we're going to enforce the law.
Yeah.
So just keep it in mind.
And we got they were fine here, and I'm
they
glad
really
for
don't
that.
allow
But
any
we've got
interruption of the
But
parade.
we've got all. It's fourth. It's the 4th, and we've got all those booths on the square and all of that. And I would just hope they had a little sense. If they want to have a march somewhere, go have a march somewhere, because all they're talking to is each other anyway.
Yeah.
And by the way, folks, real quick,
go ahead.
We're going to the rodeo this year. We went last year and had such a good time. It'd been a while, and we really enjoyed it. So we're going to go again this year. So I'm telling some of the old folks that have been around for a while, you might want to check it out again because it's still fun. It's patriotic. It's just
This is the first time in 44 years I do not plan to attend.
Okay.
Well, first time.
Well, I just hope
we're looking forward to it.
I just hope that all of this hoopla that's been caused by the money and the facilities that need fixing aren't stopped because it's city-owned property.
Could be a problem.
And if you can't improve facilities under this ballot initiative on city-owned property, what do? We lose the rodeo and that huge economic engine that it represents.
Yep. All right, so we've just got a couple of minutes left, and not that it matters, because we certainly couldn't have called what's going on right now. Any predictions before we head into the 4th of July weekend and into the dog days of summer?
No, other
Bob?
than I think, like I said, I think that the ceasefire will hold.
Okay.
I think that's a prediction. Maybe I'm wishful thinking, but I think that will happen.
Well,
and I'm optimistic about what's going on. I think things are going to start improving and continue to improve.
Malcolm, are you optimistic?
Very optimistic, but I'll say July 9th.
For what?
That's our first monsoon storm.
July 9th. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the date? Often during the rodeo.
Typically.
During
And
the
that's-
rodeo
yes.
week,
and that-
except it's early this year.
And that starts next Monday, June 30th,
Mhm.
and
Right.
goes through July 6th.
Right.
So
Yep.
why not July 6th?
Yeah. Growing up in Tucson,
Let the rodeo finish before it turns to a mud hole, which
yeah.
I have witnessed
Oh,
on
I have.
several
Me too.
occasions.
We all have. We've all sat there in downpours.
The
well,
mud bowl.
growing up in Tucson, we stopped going to the fireworks display down there because it always monsooned on July 4th.
It starts earlier in the south of the state and the
was inevitable.
southeast. And by the way, today was the day that Franklin Pierce signed the Gadsden Purchase and brought your little section of Arizona into
right.
the country.
Welcome to America.
And you know who negotiated the deal?
Donald Trump?
No. Franklin Pierce's Secretary of War, Jefferson Davis.
Oh, wow.
That's true.
Isn't that
So we
interesting?
actually have something to
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
Jefferson Davis
I
for.
wish he'd have gone all the way over to the coast so we'd have a little of
That was
was
part
the
of
plan.
that was part of the deal because Mexico wanted the land bridge to Baja.
Yep.
Okay.
They wanted the land bridge to Baja, didn't want the
Yeah.
gringos taking their port in northern Gulf.
All right.
There you
Well, I
go.
learned something today. That's
All right.
interesting.
Any other prediction, Phil?
Predictions on the rain. I'll go with the 6th or the 7th.
All
You
right.
got the 9th.
I got
Bob,
the 9th.
throw in your money.
I'm
And
just going to say the 4th. Might
Yeah.
as well.
All right.
Okay.
January
I-
4th.
You know what?
prediction.
My prediction? Okay, real quick, July 3rd.
Oh,
All right.
there you
Okay,
go.
there you go.
Okay.
We hope
I
you
think
win.
I think the ceasefire is going to hold for a while. They're going to see how it plays out. The ball is really in the mullah's courts.
That's true.
Absolutely right.
And there we go, folks. It has been quite the month, and we've got one more to go before we do this again. So,
Quite the week.
See you
Phil,
1 week from today.
Malcolm,
Show.
Bob, thanks very much for coming in. All of you folks, thanks for hanging with us. We appreciate it. Bye-bye.